Hi, I'm Kelly Kramer.
And I'm Scott Sipker. Welcome to Northeast Iowa.
And our latest edition of Iowa Outdoors. Coming up on Iowa Outdoors.
We explore virgin prairie at eastern Iowa's Rochester Cemetery.
Join a group of volunteers cleaning up an Iowa waterway.
Learn how goats are revolutionizing vegetation cleanup. We'll also journey alongside an Iowa Instagram sensation and explore another trail in a minute.
We'll have all that and more.
So sit tight. Iowa Outdoors is about to begin.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
And by the Alliant Energy Foundation. Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on Iowa Public Television can be found in Iowa Outdoors Magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.
Welcome to the Community Prairie in Decorah, Iowa. It's a public park and showcase for countless native plants and species.
In eastern Iowa, near the town of Tipton, you'll find another, more unorthodox location for native prairie. A final resting place for Iowans, but an annual renewal of our ecological heritage.
Tucked into rolling farmland in eastern Iowa is a prairie oasis in an unlikely locale. A 13.4-acre patch that honors not only Iowa ancestors, but the landscape that preceded our earliest settlers. Rochester Cemetery has achieved an infamous and even legendary status among prairie flower aficionados. Hundreds of native flowers and plants grow wild here, among the headstones and grave sites of Iowans dating back to the 1830s. More than 300 grave sites rest amidst the gentle hills and underneath the sprawling oak tree canopies. Selected as a cemetery before it could be cleared for farmland nearly 200 years ago, Rochester rests along either side of a rural county road in Cedar County. It wasn't designed to be a tourist destination, but a final resting place. Nonetheless, Iowans still come here for moments of prairie serenity. Controversy hasn't escaped even those calm confines. In recent decades, some nearby residents have differed over the fate of this cemetery and its upkeep of vegetation. Due to seldom mowing, this grassland patch has thrived as a virgin prairie, vibrant with color and active with pollinators and small creatures. But to some, the prairie overgrowth resembles a poorly maintained lawn, which has an even more negative connotation amidst the final resting place for generations of Iowans. But Rochester Cemetery is more than a site for gravestones. It's a touchstone to what Iowa's landscape looked like before the advent of widespread agricultural production. Only 0.1% of Iowa's original prairies still remain amidst a virtual ocean of corn and soybean fields. Naturalists often peg a healthy prairie to include more than 150 different plants. Here at Rochester, more than 350 different plant species thrive along hillsides, in full sun and under partial shade. This location isn't immune from the encroachment of invasive species like garlic mustard. Occasional mowing helps limit the spread of invasive plants, but this plot of land is largely left to the elements. Its sprawling oaks are a sign that wildfires have spared this plot. Much like the Iowans that rest here, or the ones that visit here, Rochester Cemetery resembles more than a trip to eastern Iowa. It's a trip back in time to a view our early settlers witnessed and the native beauty of the Iowa outdoors. The most important resource in our lives is water, and making sure it's clean enough to drink not to mention enjoy recreationally, is no small task.
Thankfully, while legislators, experts, and advocates iron out the policy, there are some who take water quality into their own hands, and if they must, clean up one creek at a time.
This is going to be pretty low and shallow and walkable, but there may be some spots, and everyone is just required to do what they are comfortable doing.
Meet the Service Squad, a crew of super volunteers from the Iowa Environmental Council and Iowa River Revival.
We have a section that is from the road 2 miles that way. We don't have to cover the full thing today.
While both nonprofits work to change Iowa environmental policy, the Service Squad is a subgroup that proudly says they want to, quote, do something.
So Metro Waste Authority has a Adopt a Stream program, and so we adopted this section of 4 Mile Creek, and so this is our first official cleanup on the section that we adopted.
A lot of people don't realize how much trash gets kind of thrown away and ends up in our waterways and our streams and our rivers, and no one is regularly coming to pick it up, so that's what our job is. Turned out that it really needed it. There was a lot to find.
Not restricted to environmental groups like the Service Squad, the Metro Waste Authority's Go Adopt a Stream program is open to any person or organization looking to clean up a Polk County waterway. So far, the program has seen just over 40 miles of streams adopted and is hoping more volunteers step up and double that adoption rate. If the participants in the 4 Mile cleanup are any indication, there are all kinds of people eager to sign up.
Oh, we actually made up a summer bucket list for our family this summer, and river or lake cleanup was on our bucket list. So we joined the group, and we're looking forward to helping the environment today and maybe in the future too.
Beautiful day, clean up the stream. I mean, somebody's got to do it, so might as well be us doing some volunteer work.
I own a recycling company, so for my birthday last year, we actually canoed down the Raccoon River and just ended up picking up trash because we saw it. So we figured this would be something similar.
For some of the Service Squad volunteers, 4 Mile is not their first cleanup. Dave and Alyssa Douglas took part in a cleanup a year ago and find the growing number of volunteers inspiring.
Great day to be doing this. It's a great project to be doing. A lot of people involved, a lot more than I saw the last time that we were out doing this. This is great to see that everybody getting involved.
With more than 30 volunteers taking part, you're probably wondering if there's enough river refuse to go around. Well, according to Dave, you might be surprised at the amount of trash found in even the smallest streams of Iowa.
We found tires, coolers, shopping carts, and then of course the typical trash, the bottles, cans.
So we only took 2 hours out here, so this is what we found in only a 2-hour span. And we found tires, lots of brick and excess building materials, about a dozen golf balls, and an old playhouse, lots of cans, bottles, and apparently, I haven't seen it, but someone said we found a 1950s truck.
The great thing about this is like there's physical evidence, you know, like you pull out stuff and you knew that was in there and it's not there anymore. It's a thing you can do to make a difference, that you actually see the results, and we don't get that a lot of times in the environmental world. And so I think there's something very satisfying about doing the work and then seeing how much you actually did.
Molly Hansen organized the 4 Mile cleanup, and as a lifelong Iowan specifically educated for this kind of work, she finds the Service Squad efforts especially rewarding.
I went to school for earth science and geology and got into conservation and basically knew that I had to stay in Iowa and do the work here. We have a water quality issue in our state, and I think it's really great that people are starting to seriously talk about it. Whether it's positive or negative, we're talking about it, and that's changing the conversation around conservation, natural resources, and this thing that we all need to survive. So this is kind of become my fight, and we have a lot of work to do, so I feel like I'm going to have a job for a long time.
Some of these prairie plants are considered weeds in any number of different, more urban locales. But how do you choose to get rid of them? Chemicals, fire, old-fashioned hard work?
Well, you might want to try goats. One Iowa company is using targeted grazing to clean up the landscape, and it's a pretty good show.
Many years ago, herds of animals freely roamed the prairies of Iowa, grazing on a variety of plants and controlling growth. Those conditions are different across the Iowa landscape today. But an Iowa company called Goats on the Go is providing targeted grazing to help manage unwanted vegetation in a sustainable way.
For some, their goal is just to run the goats through, open things up, make it look better for a little while. But then we have other customers who have definite conservation goals in mind. They want to restore natural landscapes, native landscapes. They want to do it without herbicides. They want to do it without much disturbance, and they want to do it on a large scale. So our services run the gamut from both extremes.
Goats are much better bushwhackers and weed eaters than lawnmowers. They thrive in dense vegetation, chomping and chewing their way through noxious weeds, brush, and invasive plants.
They'll go up as high as they can reach, they'll push stuff over, and so you really get a good defoliation of all the species of the plants from about 6 feet down, and then when you choose to pull them off, down to the ground.
Goats deal with steep slopes and rough terrain with little erosion and much less safety risk to humans. In a happy coincidence, they love to eat honeysuckle, multiflora rose, and many other types of invasive vegetation that we humans want to get rid of.
Sheep will eat grass and some weeds, cows will just eat grass, but goats will eat all of it. So that's the uniqueness of a goat. From little trees to thistles, I mean, they'll eat it.
You know, if you look at the protein content of those plants, that far exceeds some of the best hay we could give our goats. But no other animal can consume and digest and make use of those nutrients other than a goat. And that's kind of what makes them amazing.
Goats on the Go brings the animals to the site, sets up a solar-powered electric fence around the area that needs attention, provides water, and has a representative check in on the goats regularly. A typical job for Goats on the Go involves about 30 to 40 animals, usually taking 4 to 5 days per acre.
The first time I brought up the subject, I had a lot of people think we were maybe a little bit nuts, but I kept talking it up and finally convinced everybody that's what we needed to do.
The Iowa City School District used Goats on the Go for multiple projects, including one creating a transition from a heavily wooded area to a play area outside an elementary school. The district had to get approval from Iowa City and North Liberty officials to have the goats within city limits.
The main objective with the goats coming in here is actually to get rid of a lot of the leafy material and the waist-high vegetation. What that does is it makes it a little bit safer for our operators to go in and chainsaw out any woody vegetation that we don't want in there, smaller trees, little saplings.
They're just as cost-effective as if we hired a crew of 4 or 5 men for a week and paid labor, wages, and the equipment itself. So it's pretty much a wash, but in the end it's better because it's friendly to the environment.
I'd say the thing that's most surprising is how great of a job the goats actually do. I kind of expected mixed results and kind of thought, well, it might be easier just to do it with a heavy-duty brush mower. But surprisingly, they eat the vegetation all the way down within inches of the ground. It's unquestionable success.
These cute and sometimes goofy grazing goats aren't just all business. Part of the appeal of Goats on the Go is educational and, yes, entertaining.
Goats will be on logs, jumping, headbutting, running around, making sounds. They're a lot more fun to watch. I kind of call them the court jester of the animal kingdom. You know, they're always goofing off doing something weird. So
We're constantly amazed at how much people love goats.
Like, the only thing I think people would like more than goats is if you could train monkeys to do something, because that'd be funnier. But
Monkeys with a weed whacker
yeah,
might top goats.
right?
But maybe.
People love it, you know.
Here at Dewey's pasture in far northwest Iowa, about 120 goats spent several weeks munching on about 22 acres of undesirable trees and brush.
If you do nothing, they grow up to trees, and some people think that that's not a bad thing, but if you're a grassland, wetland dependent critter, if you will, that's the worst thing in the world. So you have to do that type of management, you know.
The Iowa Department of Natural Resources deals with land management on a daily basis in parks and natural areas throughout the state. The DNR uses goats on the go in some sensitive grassland and wetland areas with remnant vegetation and native prairie, where heavy machinery or chemical applications are not ideal.
And unfortunately, and one of the reasons why we're doing this, we don't have a whole lot of bur oak regeneration here because of the tree and shrub encroachment and a few other factors. These goats will help clean some of that up and hopefully allow some of that oak regeneration and other savanna type species to blossom and to happen. But it'll take time. It'll take time.
The cost for this service varies depending on the size of the project and the location. Bigger projects and those closest to Goats on the Go's home base or one of their representative goat farmers across the state can be more cost-effective per acre. Some people wonder why the model isn't flipped, why Goats on the Go isn't paying the landowners for feeding their goats.
This is a horrible way to feed goats.
Right.
It's really expensive to do it this way, and so
we would just be feeding goats right here at home in a convenient pasture if all we wanted was to feed them. So we have bigger aspirations than that.
A one-time visit by Goats on the Go won't permanently solve most vegetation problems. The company works with customers on a comprehensive strategy to achieve land management goals.
Goats are one tool in a toolbox for managing vegetation. They work great in combination with other things. If the customer is committed to using goats and only goats, we can have a killing effect on the targeted vegetation over time, but it typically takes 2 or 3 repeat grazings to start to kill the vegetation. In most cases, we are opening things up, clearing it out, setting back the targeted vegetation a little bit so that other vegetation can compete. And we're creating a much more pleasant environment to do some follow-up hand labor, maybe even some very precise applications of herbicide rather than a broad application of herbicide.
Goats on the Go isn't just in the vegetation control business, it's in the meat business too. Although the company has been so busy with grazing projects that there hasn't been much opportunity to sell goats for meat, yet.
it's the true definition of a value-added product because we're taking something that was of no value and could not be of any value unless you put a browsing goat on it and turn it into meat for the community and for Iowans. So
really the only thing that's holding us back is how quickly these guys can reproduce, you know. So we see a need for more goats, we see a need for more good people to help us out, and we definitely want to spread our brand around.
For many burgeoning outdoor shutterbugs, that first photogenic sunset is enough to start a photographic addiction. For Bryan Conley, those first few picture-perfect Iowa landscapes were enough to do the trick. Now his camera takes him across Iowa and beyond.
I think first and foremost, my favorite things to take pictures of are sunsets. I like sunrises, but I'm never up for them. If a sunset's going on and I'm indoors, I can't handle it. But mainly it's just about wanting to be in nature, wanting to backpack and hike and spend as much time on mountaintops as I can.
Bryan Conley is a creative person. Sure, he's an avid photographer, but before that, he was a touring musician and outdoor adventurer. And when he's not being creative, he's pushing others to do so.
I think that anything creative is a worthwhile endeavor. I think it activates a part of your brain that is healthy and good for a healthy balance in life. Whether it's art, music, or photography, or anything, try it. Have some fun. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing.
That approach to life is what brought Bryan to photography, a natural love of the outdoors and a desire to hold on to that feeling.
I guess the way I got into it is that I really enjoy being outdoors, first of all. Hiking and backpacking, just anywhere around Iowa started off, also Colorado and areas like that. Always had that sense of adventure and always wanted to travel ever since I was young. And then playing in bands as I grew up, started to travel with music and whatnot. But it seemed like photography was the next step to capturing those moments, I guess.
Those travels started taking him to the top of mountains and on long trips through national parks. Eventually, when Bryan returned to Iowa, he decided the only way to replicate his wanderlust was to seek out the hidden treasures the state has to offer.
So you find places like this with cliffs by the water, or places like the Ledges, or northeast Iowa, Yellow River State Park and whatnot.
Sometimes, to find unique locations, he's even resorted to the most simple of devices.
One of the things you have to do is just open up a map every once in a while and see where things are, like lakes and rivers. So I eventually made my way down to Red Rocks, driving around, found this tower. Why not climb up in it? And then eventually made my way down these trails and found these cliffs along here as well.
Little discoveries, like the Cordova Observation Tower and waterfront area, give Bryan a little extra energy to find a different angle on some of his favorite subjects, like landscapes and sunsets.
Places like that, I just love that view. I feel like there's so much of Iowa that's relatively flat that finding that vantage point is a tough thing. And one of the things that you get from the top of the tower is you see the tops of those trees, which are typically the most colorful spots. But having a 360-degree view isn't so bad either, right?
And Bryan finds the natural, rocky topography of Lake Red Rock's waterfront provides an equally interesting perspective.
I've had a lot of good sunsets over there. A lot of silhouettes of people, or just clouds in the sky, or birds flying by as well. There's a lot you can see from a high vantage point.
Bryan's need to get out and explore has led to his most noticeable success, a large following on Instagram. Currently, Bryan has nearly 40,000 subscribers on the popular photo-sharing application, who Bryan believes started to gather due to their shared affinity for the setting sun.
I think my most popular things that I do on that are sunset shots with birds in the sky, or maybe silhouetted subjects with sunsets. To answer how I got there, it was a lot of consistent posting, certain times a day, with a series of right hashtags that, you know, go to the right hubs and everything. But a lot of it was due to the fact that I saw other people traveling around and sharing their work, and them being able to do more traveling because of it. And I thought that that benefited the lifestyle I was trying to set up, where I was trying to travel a lot and see this country. And now through photography, I'm able to do that and have some help with sponsors with not only gear, but some gas money along the way as well.
His latest Instagram project is turning the camera from the horizon to the habitat.
Okay, so I do have a second page, and it's called The Wildlife of Bryan, kind of a play off the Monty Python movie. But it's all animal pictures. There's little teeny bugs all the way up to grizzly bear shots that I've taken. And this all came out of being outdoors, waiting for sunsets, and seeing wildlife. It was tough at first because those moments pass so quickly. You see a deer and it runs off. You know, it really sharpened my eye and made me faster at using my camera, and it's been a lot of fun to collect all those shots. Things are pretty wild when you look closely at them.
As much as Bryan loves Iowa, to him there's no equal to venturing beyond the borders of his home state and across the country.
Try to travel as much as I can. I was just in Wyoming and Montana and Colorado for the last 3 months or so. Just drove around, camped on mountaintops and on back roads, national forests and whatnot.
Long trips are the only way Bryan wants to travel. And when he shares his stories with others, it can sometimes be a little hard to wrap their minds around several months living out of a van and a tent.
When I tell people I'm going on such a large trip sometime, yeah, it can be a little bit of a weird moment for them because they're not used to that. But I just explain that, you know, there's a lot to see and there's not as much time as you'd like to see it, so you gotta get out and do it. I feel like if you want to do stuff like that, you just gotta do it, you know? Put all your reservations aside and just go for it.
If you aren't able to hit the road for months at a time, don't worry. When approached, Bryan still provides whatever creative nudge he can offer.
I would say the best advice to capture a great sunset is be out often. Just wait for it, wait for those colors to really pop, and then take a bunch of pictures and see which one looks the best afterwards. Start from there. But you could have 6 cameras on you at any moment between your camera, video camera, an iPhone, whatever. Take a couple pictures. Mess around with editing. If you have fun with it, you have fun with it. Ask some friends how they do it. My favorite thing to hear, though, is that it inspires other people to get outside as well. You know, I think that's the main thing, is that if it can inspire someone else to get outside and enjoy this, then it's all worth it.
It's time for IPTV's Trail in a Minute, where we show you a first-person view of a different Iowa hiking, biking, or water trail each episode. It's a great opportunity to relive a previous outdoor experience or to plan a future adventure, and it's a pretty cool way to view the Iowa outdoors. Take a look. Wrapping north, south, east, and west of the Des Moines River, the Fort Dodge Regional Trail System offers miles upon miles of outdoor activity. While you could start nearly anywhere in town and jump on the trail, Dragon Boat Park and Volunteer Park offer the most central starting points for a bike or hike. Heading north on the trail, the path will stop just short of town, instead steering you through an abundant flora along Soldier Creek. Mixed between town and neighborhoods, adventurers will have the opportunity to continue north towards Harlan Rogers Sports Complex in Kennedy Memorial Park, or follow the river back south and explore the riverfront through Loomis Park. For a quick side expedition, look along the path for side trails leading to Fort Dodge's old hydroelectric dams, which may soon be removed to enhance riverfront recreation and improve water quality. As your trek continues south, crossing Hawkeye Bridge, you'll face the steep climbs of Finney Park, but with the ride ending at Webster County's Freedom Rock, it's definitely worth it. The Fort Dodge Regional Trail System definitely can't be summed up in just a minute.
That wraps up this episode of our 7th season of Iowa Outdoors. We encourage you to get outside and enjoy Iowa's parks and recreational opportunities. If you're planning any outdoor travel, check out our extensive video archive of adventures at iptv.org/Iowa Outdoors.
Our latest season of Iowa Outdoors has more episodes than ever before, with extra stories from every corner of our state. We'll leave you now with more images of Iowa's outdoor environments.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
And by the Alliant Energy Foundation. Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on Iowa Public Television can be found in Iowa Outdoors Magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.